Hello, friends. My name is Tetiana Kalinovska, and I'm working with transformational practices. I'm passionate about self acceptance and inner growth. This series of interview is my way to bring together different voices around the theme You Are Enough. And today I have very special guest, Nicola Richardson. Nicola, can you introduce yourself to us?
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on here, Tanya, and I really appreciate it. We've known one another for a few months now, haven't we?
Yes.
And we met through some mentoring opportunities, as I'm a leadership and management mentor. And one of the things that's very important to me is giving back to other people. So I do trustee work, and I also help Santander with their mentoring. And so I'm really about how to handle difficult conversations. And I started this 8 years ago. So, yeah, that's my passion, difficult conversations, because we tend to avoid them. And the amount of people I see do it, and I just feel frustrated because it's quite easy actually to have a conversation, much easier than we realize. And that's what I try to help with. You are enough to me is about valuing yourself. But it's also about forgiving yourself at the same time. I think it's a journey, and I've certainly got to it now to understand that what's within me, what my values are, what my knowledge is, what my experience is enough. I choose to continue to learn because that's one of my motivators. But I have finally realised that what I am is enough for me, for my family, for the people I work with. And I think it's very easy to get into that self doubt area, that feeling that you are never quite good enough. And I think it's time we all stopped that and gave ourselves a little pat on the back and said, you know, we are good as we are fine as we are. And we don't need to do this growth. We do it because we enjoy it, because we want it. And that's why I do my learning is about I enjoy it. It just takes me to a next level. And so whilst I accept I am as I am, I just want to use my motivators to give me my happiness. So I was working corporately, running large teams operationally, and then I moved into before I moved into continuous improvement, which is another ball game and which I absolutely love as well. So I was working operationally, my favourite job of all time, and I got a new manager. If I'm really honest, I think she was on a bit of a power trip. She wanted to run all the different departments, which shouldn't happen because it's a conflict of interest. But there she was, and there I was in the way. And when you watched how she led and managed, she would have favourites. So if you were in that inner circle, you were left out. So I was going through quite a hard time at home with my dad was in hospital, thought he was dying at the time, doing long days at work, traveling 2 hours each way, working on the train there and back, and then going to see my dad. So I was really quite stressed. And all my team around me knew and were really supportive. But she hauled me into the office. And this is where my difficult conversations all starts, because instead of being empathetic and asking me how I was and what was going on and how could she support me, she just went, "You're stressed. You're stressed." And what do? You do withdraw. When somebody attacks you, you've got your fight or your flight. So I withdrew. I went into flight. I was like, I'm not answering. I'm not telling her anything because she's not in the right place to understand and support me, which is all I wanted. Um, and she told me to go home and to take sick leave, which I refused. I refused to tell her, why I was stressed because everybody else knew. She should have picked up on it. And some would have said I was probably quite rebellious at the time. But to me, there was a way of dealing with it. Well, several weeks later, because of the pressures I was under and because work and personal life had collided, I had a heart attack. So I had a few months off work. And as a result of that, I spent some time working out what my strengths were, what my weaknesses were, what opportunities were out there for me, and what were the threats. And doing that, it made me realize I could set my own business up, because this isn't how you lead and manage. People should go into conversations being curious, and that's so important, wanting to understand what's going on with the other person. So I went back to work, decided to study for a qualification outside of work so that I could start professional consulting, and my business was born. And I eventually left work in 2021, but I did it part-time for 5 years. And I'm really glad I did, because it gave me opportunities to get more learning within the workplace. So it paid off.
Okay, it's so great to hear that. But I'm really sorry to hear what you had to go through to achieve that, than what you achieved, which is positive outcome, of course. And
Yeah.
as well, that's why I met you.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's very hard in the moment when something awful happens, is to see what actually are the benefits and the lessons that you're getting from it. But sometimes a few years down the line, you can look back and you can say, well, actually, what that did for me, well, for me, it was get me trained in professional consulting so that I could step my own business up. So, and it actually also taught me how I didn't want to manage and lead. So to me, that was actually a bonus. So despite having a heart attack, I actually gained something out of it, and I feel so glad I did. And I think that's what you have to do. You have to look back and you have to say, what have I actually gained out of this most awful experience?
Yeah.
Because you will always find a glimmer of something, but it sometimes is really hard to do.
Yeah, it's very interesting because I heard already quite from few people, and when I look back in some of the things happened in my life, that sometimes we even have to turn around and to say thank you for people like that manager who came to your job and stuff like that, because of the people like this, we actually grow, and we our direction change, and we start doing things that we really enjoy to do. If we
Yeah,
take that, if we understand that within ourselves and take that opportunity, we will grow. Which
yeah,
is very,
absolutely. It was interesting as well. When I first went out business networking, I kind of felt like an imposter.
mm,
And I was actually struggling at that time with a micromanager. So I was working on improving processes, making changes to how the department worked. But I had a micromanager who he really wanted to know all the ins and the outs, and wouldn't let you make decisions on your own, despite the level we were at. And he it was incredibly difficult to work with. And so as a result, my confidence had really gone. And I got some coaching with a lovely lady, Jackie, who did an emotional intelligence assessment form with me, and it came out that I had my self-awareness, although I was aware that I had lost my confidence, it was really coming out in the way I walked into a room. My head would be down, and that was exactly what was happening in business networking. So I worked with her, and wow, did that uplift me and change me? And it actually started to reflect in the workplace. So it was a win-win again.
yeah,
So sometimes we do need additional help to see what needs to change.
yes,
Um,
I agree.
but but I think you get to a stage where you feel complete. I think to me,
Yeah,
it's about being complete, feeling you are enough.
yeah,
You just feel it.
yeah. You have to feel it. It's like you can't just say it, but you have to feel it with
As
your body.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does, when you do that, you come across differently, don't you? You exude like that confidence,
Yeah,
that and you hold yourself up. If you watch people, they hold themselves up higher, um, and they're not frightened to say what they think as well either. I actually think it goes back to childhood a lot of the time. Um, I think parents unwittingly, so they don't know they're doing it, put these high demands and this perfection on children, and or something happens when they're little, maybe at school. So it can be the teachers, it can be anybody, and they probably do it subconsciously and don't even realize they're doing it. And it's passed down from generation to generation quite frequently. And we have to evolve ourselves and understand what's happening to change that and to realize we can change it for our children. And so I would say it goes back to your childhood, definitely 99% of the time.
Yeah. Yes. I can actually agree on that. But as well, I believe that a lot of the parents or people who does that with us, they themselves don't know better, because
No.
it was with them probably something worse happened, and that's why they don't know better. But
Yeah, absolutely. And often they are unconsciously taking those habits from their childhood as well and passing it on. It's almost like an ancestral,
yeah,
curse, you could say, but it's not. But it's from one ancestry to another, and as time goes on, it starts to weaken. You can see it,
yeah,
and I mean, I look at myself, and I had parents who were always wanted me to be at the top and things like that. And I know that I did that with my children. And sometimes I look back and really have that regret that I put that pressure on them.
mm. Like, if I will reflect, and for me it was a bit different, because I think my father, he always wanted us to do more, and to read more, and to do this and that. But our mom was a bit more relaxed, I think, around a lot of those things. And I will say that it's actually also made the difference, because she were not pushing, but we were able to think what we want. But on the same time, I always felt like, oh, I wish that were somebody who was more stricter with me, and really like teach me discipline and stuff like that, because most of the time my dad was not around. He was more over the phone or over the letters, telling
Yeah.
us he want us to do this and that. But anyway, life happening, and it is what it is. But we all then have a responsibility as adults to change our life. And I personally also wish that schools teach children
Yeah.
self-acceptance, to be self-aware, and love themselves, and things like that. Because
Yeah.
that's why we pay taxes.
Yeah. I think that there's something around doing more work around emotional intelligence in school. And as you say, the self-acceptance, but also the self-aware about how you come across to other people. And that's not to say it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's to say, because quite often we've got this hidden spot in us and we can't see it unless somebody tells us, which makes us stop and think. And the best thing we can do is then reflect, are they right? Are they the only person who said it? Or are there lots of people saying this to us? Or if I ask somebody else, will they say the same thing? We don't have to take the feedback we receive. We can
Yeah.
dismiss it quite easily. And sometimes if it's not validated, if it's not given specifics, that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
I think we all have a responsibility when we do give feedback to make it specific and talk about when we've seen it and how we saw it, because people can't understand it otherwise.
Yeah, that is true.
I think, and I'm sure you would agree, is it's about one, journaling. If you're struggling, journal and just, note down what happened in the day and what made you feel good and what didn't make you feel good, and really concentrate on what made you feel good. And then I think a really great thing to do is gratitudes every morning, 5 gratitudes, because it lifts you up straight away. I also would say listen to meditation type music, because that really helps me. If I'm having a bad day at night, I'll put on a little meditation. And this is only something I've discovered in the last 2-3 years. And it absolutely has saved me. Like when I've been in hospital and I couldn't sleep, or I was feeling really anxious. We talked about positive intelligence, you and I, before.
Yeah.
Great, you can find positive intelligence on LinkedIn, and there's a book. There's some really good things in there, because we all have these inner critic voices, and the first one we've all got is a judging others, judging ourselves. And really, we need to be a little bit kinder to ourselves. So when we need to start catching that, if you hear yourself saying, I could have done better on that, stop yourself and say, oh, here goes that voice again.
Yeah.
Give it a name if you want, and say, you're not getting away with this. And just do, as we've talked about, fill your hands for 30 seconds to a minute, and it brings the level down, and you'll start to feel a lot more positive.
Yeah. Definitely. I remember that you shared that with me, and it was really very, like, it did good job.
Yeah.
And especially I remember when I was supposed to go for meeting with many people around, and I didn't know anyone there, and like I remember that it really worked well. So
Good.
thank you for sharing that with me and now with our audience.
Yeah, it does help. Another one is, if there's something on the wall far away, say a picture. Really, if you're really struggling and your emotions are getting really high, just stare at that picture and really work out the composition of it. Look at the colours, look at the lines. Just really spend a minute looking at that.
Yeah.
Nobody will probably even notice you're doing that.
Yeah.
To be honest. And that will again bring you down. Or you can look at that, and then you could perhaps look at your watch for 30 seconds and say, and just study your watch as well, so that you're changing it. And it's just that mindfulness, really, bringing you back into where you are. And it just really helps bring those emotions down.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing it again.
That's all right. It's more with the work I do. It's around the fear of how somebody else is going to react. So people avoid conversations because they're worried about the other person's reaction. That's a lot. And generally because they feel inside they're probably enough, but they feel not recognized by anybody else around there. But that's a difficult one to deal with. And that it does involve having those conversations where you bring your point of view, but you make it very specific. Like we said about feedback before, you have to be very specific about what you're looking for, how you can be positive with how you tell somebody. I've noticed, and I probably ought to be putting this into practice actually today after our conversation before we came on air, about, telling people about, I've done this, I did it ahead of time, and thank you would have been really nice, because that makes me feel better in myself. I feel appreciated and valued then. We're all so busy, we forget to do these little things. And if nothing else, my message to everybody listening would be, remember to take the time to acknowledge people who do little things for you, however little, and say thank you and show them that you appreciate it. Because life's so short, we need to show each other in a way that makes people feel valued.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it? That we all, I believe we all would like to be visible, to be appreciated, because we all have feelings, and that's what we want, really.
Yeah, and also in all of that as well, like, what's a really good thing to do is to sit down and work out what your motivators are, what gives you your energy. Because I always think motivators are linked very much to strength. So when you're buzzing, when you're passionate, that will usually tell you where your strength is, but it will also tell you where your motivator is as well. And when you understand your motivators, you can tap into that more. So for me, my top motivator is learning and growth, but my second one is being recognized. So when you understand that, you will understand sometimes when somebody doesn't recognize you, that's really why it's pushing your triggers, your hot button. And so what can you do for yourself to recognize it if nobody else can? And that will help.
Yeah, I think if we can recognize ourselves, and if we accept ourselves, a lot of time we don't need that validation or whatever from somebody else, because we give it to ourselves, and that it's enough. Like,
Yeah.
that's what it is, that I am enough for myself. I can accept myself the way I am, and that it's my belief. And then we really can be more happier.
Yeah, and I'd say that's right most of the time. But I think for somebody who's perhaps got the inner critic voice of perfectionism,
Yeah.
they're probably going to say whatever I do is never quite good enough. So they will be needing that validation,
Yeah.
and it's getting them to recognise that they need to call out that voice and say, actually, I don't need to worry about anybody else. What I'm doing is fine, and I'm really pleased with what I've done.
Yeah, yeah. But like we also know that whenever people feel like they need more support with that, that's why I think people like mentors, coaches can really help them to, like, I believe if somebody can afford or find somebody who maybe work like with government, I don't know who, when government can support them, it's I think will be very great if they go and get that support from.
Yeah, I mean, it depending on what it is they need.
Yeah, yeah.
You need to be signposted to the right thing, which is why I work for leaders and managers, and you work as a life coach,
Yeah.
helping individuals. So
Yeah.
the governments don't tend to supply much, and it's more around charity organisations as well. So if you Google, you might find a charity organisation like anybody who's struggling with neurodiverse issues, somebody struggling with mental health issues, etc. But generally, it's expected that you would get your own mentoring, I think.
Yeah. But that what is kind of for me as well very interesting, because this is exactly what really needed in this world, and it's not really placed in like in the right, like in schools or universities or government programs or whatever, but it's really so important, it's so necessary to promote that much more. And a lot of people, I believe even till now, they scared to go and seek for some help from other people, because they also a lot of time feel that they will be judged, or somebody will talk about that there's something wrong with them. But you are all fine, you just need some time, we need help.
And sometimes it's just a matter of bouncing off somebody else, just feeling like somebody's listening to you and understands where you're coming from. And a good mentor or coach will do that. They will, show you empathy. They will point you in the right direction. They'll give you choices. And it's not about doing it their way. It's about helping that person grow into their own being.
Yeah, that is definitely true. And I know that because I personally worked with you, and you supported me in so many great ways.
Yeah, and I think we should give a shout out to Santander for their business mentoring that they do each year for women, and I think it's really important that continues.
Yes.
I think it's really bonus. This is my second year in it, and I've really enjoyed it because I've learned as much as say you, the mentee. So you never stop learning, and often your mentee will say something, and it like sparks something in you as a mentor. So yeah.
Yes, I agree on that, because as I work with many people, and it's happened the same way, that I learned from people and people learned from me. So it is we exchanging of knowledge, energy, and a lot of other things.
Exactly, and it's that energy that's important, I think, as much as anything else. It changes because quite often, again, we've talked about their posture, and it just shows through that. But what also it does is quite often they add boundaries that they probably didn't have in place before. Maybe they were being walked all over, or maybe they just feel able to say what they're actually thinking. But what it does is it gives them just this quiet aura that aura, I can't even say it, and it just shows, and it makes relationships stronger, I would say, particularly the ones that are worth valuing. And sometimes people will fall by the wayside because you've changed, and that's fine. You can't beat yourself up about it. That is because everybody has a place in your life at some point, but sometimes you grow and you change direction.
Yeah, that is I as well can agree, because right now I'm going through some similar situation where I change in direction, and many people who used to be friends no longer friends, but because I'm working on myself and I understand that it's absolutely okay and normal for people to move different ways, and that
Yeah.
way I can grow on my way and they can change their direction and grow somehow. We just need to be happy for ourselves and for other, and believe that it's for the best for all of us, and so to accept the change.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
Enjoy it.
absolutely. I think it's worse with when you grow apart and there's no obvious reason why somebody's just disappeared out of your life. I think we have a responsibility, but again, it goes back to a difficult conversation, is to be able to articulate to somebody, because when somebody just disappears out of your life and you've no idea why, it causes a type of grief within you,
Yeah.
because you just can't understand, did you do something? And that can then sap your your belief in yourself. So it's really important that we have those conversations, however difficult they are. And sometimes it's just about putting the boundaries in place and things change, and sometimes you just can't, you just need to let go. But if you can have a conversation, do, because it stops a person grieving as much, because they understand.
Yeah, that is 100%. So
Yeah.
I think we had wonderful conversation, and I'm really appreciate your time and your energy, and I'm more than sure that many people will want to contact you to find out more about what you do. So if you can share where they can find you, it will be really great.
Well, thank you, Tanya. I've really appreciated coming on, and you certainly got me thinking. So that's a bonus as well, isn't it? So, yeah. So you can find me at thepeoplementor.co.uk. I'm also under LinkedIn as Nicola Richardson, the People Mentor, and Facebook's Nicola Richardson, the People Mentor. So yeah, just come and follow, because I share loads of resources, because I'm all about making leadership and management, and particularly conversations, much easier for everybody.
Oh, thank you so much, Nicola, and I wish you a wonderful day and a weekend ahead.
Thank
And
you.
bye for today.
Thank you.